new skills start to appear. In Melissa McCarthy's case, courage, boldness, everything that she wasn't back in the normal world, back in her basement office in the CIA, that vermin-ridden basement office. So you have the reaction, and then there's a part of the movie that we call connections. And connections is the part of the movie when your characters start to find unexpected allies and sometimes unexpected enemies. In Tropic Thunder, the two main actors, Robert Downey Jr., who's an Australian, playing an Australian who's playing a black sergeant in Vietnam, is always at odds with Ben Stiller's lead actor. And they barely talk to each other, they don't get along, but in the middle part of the movie, they start to actually talk to each other. And it's the first time that they're actually trying to make a connection. Connections is when things slow down in the movie, where you have heart-to-heart conversations, you tell the truth about each other. I guess the one caveat that I'd like to put out there is that all these elements are in all these comedy movies, but they're not necessarily in the same order. After Connections and New Directions, when characters get what we call the discovered goal, you have Disconnections, which is the dark night of the soul. And that's usually the part about 3/4 of the way or 4/5 of the way through, where everything seems lost, and your hero is going to fail, and then somehow they find the power, the strength to try one more time, and they win. Now, normally that comes at about 3/4 of the way, 4/5 of the way through the movie. In Groundhog Day, however, that moment, that dark night of the soul, happens about midway through. It happens after the sequence in which Bill Murray, who, because he's found the skill to get whatever he wants by simply being able to anticipate what's going to happen, because he's living this day over and over and over again, he's able to rob a truck full of money. He's able to sleep with all the women in town. And then he gets the idea that he wants to have a relationship with Andie MacDowell, the producer Rita. And even though he tries over and over again, it always ends with this great slap montage. Slap, slap, slap. And now we're only about halfway through the movie, and that's the time in which he has lost all hope. He goes through this great series of suicide attempts. They're attempts because he does kill himself, but he wakes up the next day. In fact, Groundhog Day is a really interesting structure. It's basically structured after the long first act in which it sets everything up. It's structured like the 5 stages of grief of Kubler-Ross. There's denial, there's a very short section of anger, then there's a long negotiation period, then there is depression, and finally there's acceptance. But in Groundhog Day, there's 3 acts to acceptance. There's first getting Rita to believe in him. That's an entire act. Then there's the act of trying to save the old man, in which he's got to come to grips with the fact that he's not God. He's simply a man going through an impossible situation. And finally, there's the final act of acceptance, in which he simply accepts his fate. He's never going to live to see February 3rd. He's always going to be living in February 2nd. And he's okay with it. He's found out that the purpose of life for him is simply to do as much good as he can in the one day he has. So that's a way of just understanding that this framework, this structure, isn't a cookie cutter form that must be followed. that all these parts of the journey happen, they don't necessarily happen all in the same order or all at the same time. The thought that certain things have to happen on page 10 and certain things have to happen on page 26 is probably not a really good way to approach writing a screenplay.